Welcome back, everybody, to the Squatchers Lounge podcast. We're giving this whole new deal a go. That's right. We logged in today, and we can no longer use the Hangouts on air. So we've been forced to move on and try and rebroadcast another way. So we're trying out StreamYard this week. That's right, powered by StreamYard.com. And we are here live Wednesday night, 8 p.m. That's what it is, the Squatchers Lounge podcast. I don't know if how the audio is sounding out there. Hopefully it's not all poppy and scratchy, although on my end it seems to be. So we're going to try and just kind of push through that and see what happens as we move along. Chewbacca call or fat girl fart, you make the call. That's right. Back here live at the Squatchers Lounge podcast. All right. So let's see if I can figure out how to turn that off. And there we go. Hello, everybody. We're live. We are right here. Like I said, we're trying out this new deal, the StreamYard. A couple of young men, young entrepreneurs are behind this madness. It is free to use. It is free to stream. It's got some restrictions, but, you know, the paid version of it's like $15 a month. And it looks like it's going to be able to allow us to continue to broadcast to our 11,000 YouTube users, which is fantastic. Don't know how long this is going to hold out, but we're going to try and keep on going. That's right. 7 years into this madness, and YouTube hasn't become completely useless, but it's getting pretty close. So with that, let's take a look here and see what's on tap for the news this week here on the Squatchers Lounge podcast. If you hear a little bit of rumbling in the background, well, that puppy, Miss Cleopatra, and well, let's just say she is a hoot. She runs at her own pace. All right, there we go, people. Don't forget to join us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/SLounge. Click the join button. You can read it. It's open to the public. Yes, that's right. Your crazy friends will see your post in the Squatchers Lounge podcast. Or you can do what most people do. They don't even join. They just go there and drink their coffee and read what's going on. News articles of the weeks are usually selected from the Squatchers Lounge podcast. That's right. All right. Hey, the symbol of the state of California, the grizzly bear, they are trying to reincorporate the grizzly bear back in California. Although the grizzly bear sits front and center at the California flag, the animal hadn't roamed California for nearly 100 years. Some people are trying to change that. A group called Bring Back the Bears is running a series on Facebook ads in order to promote online petition to reintroduce grizzly bears into the California wilderness. So far, the petition has collected over 20,000 signatures. Well, let's see here. Grizzly bears are endangered. You want to bring them back into California as an endangered species. So who has to give up their land so that you can put these animals in there and we can't ever touch it again? Let's ruin the ecosystem. Let's ruin the current black bear population, the healthy deer population that we still don't have. Let's talk about a million reasons as to not do this. Yeah, anyhow, let's move right along to something very cool. The story of Lassen's Ishi. That's right, the last Native American wild man. When Ishi emerged from the wilderness near Lassen Peak into the modern world in 1911, he had no idea the impact he would have on the legacy of Northern California Native Americans. They were like, oh, well, if a dude could live in the woods all by himself until 1911, why couldn't Sasquatch live in the woods? Well, of course, Sasquatch can live in the woods. The fact is, we still had man living in the woods until 1911. An unknown wild man emerged from the wilderness near Lassen Peak and into the town of Oroville, California, which is just north of me. Unable to speak English and desperately looking for food, the man was subsequently captured by locals and put into the local jail by the sheriff for his own safety. Remember, 1911, I'm pretty sure there were still people being paid to relocate Native Americans off their land. The man would go on to be the important link between the past different wild Native Americans and the modernized white culture of the early 1900s. They would write books, film movies, and even produce plays about this man. Universities would study thoroughly about his advanced knowledge of the outdoors and the culture of the Native American tribes. I always like the story of Ishi, man's last wild Native American. True, I got like 200 cousins that are friggin' Cherokee, and them some wild sons of bitches, let me tell you. Hey, Bigfoot cutout was stolen from the house door. How uncool. Get it? See what I did there? Bigfoot's on the loose. Well, at least in a large cutout of the mystical beast was stolen from in front of the Howl store over the weekend. I guess they wanted to hear Bigfoot howl. I don't know. The owners of Craft and Gift Store Handmade in Howl posted on Facebook that their large cutout of Bigfoot that had been located outside their location on the corner of Michigan Avenue and Sibley Street was stolen on Sunday. The owners are asking the public to keep an eye out for the distinctive figure. I mean, these are everywhere. Yeah, okay. Hey, have you received 150 calls that say, I saw you one on the top of a hill? Hey, my neighbor's got one in his yard. I'm pretty sure it's yours. Come on, people. These things are a dime a dozen now. How are you going to recognize one from the other? Unless you like scribbled your name on the back of it like we did when we were friggin' elementary school. I don't know, little Susie. Is that your coloring book? Let's see. Sorry, folks, but people are assholes. Chain it down or something. The old reverend's in wild form tonight. NASA photo captures Sasquatch. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. I am so sick and tired of these weirdo friggin' conspiracy. I don't even see a Sasquatch skull. Like, what are they talking about? Are they talking about this eye thing over here? And the lip? I have no idea what the hell these people are talking about. But yeah, paradilia right there in your face 24/7. That's interesting. That's where your mind makes up shit that it wants to see. Speaking of stuff that I want to see, this is very, very cool. This is probably going to make me go to Boring, Oregon one of these days. Cliff, that's right. Cliff Barackman of world famed show Finding or Not Finding Bigfoot has opened his own Sasquatch museum in Boring, Oregon. Yeah, that's actually the name of the place. I'm not making it up. I'm not saying that Oregon is boring, although, yeah, whoever made that statue, that whatever you want to call it, that interpretation of a Sasquatch gets it. This thing is very close. A little more narrow through the waist. A little more narrow through the waist of what I saw, and the nuts aren't big enough. But this is very, very close. You look at that thing. That's the fifth chimpanzee. That is Paranthropus gigantus nutus. I don't know what to call it, but seriously, Bilf though, Bigfoot. I'd like to film. I don't know if we should really go quite that far with a Bilf there, Cliff. But yeah, check him out. That thing is bad to the bone, and I want to go see it in person. Besides, Cliff and I are somewhat internet friends, and I'd like to see my internet friend again. He's a cool dude. All right, speaking of cool things, don't forget Reverend Jeff's Cryptic Corner is the only place you can get Bigfoot Campfire Stories. It's the only place that I'm releasing new stuff that's out there for the Bigfoot Campfire Stories. They do not go on YouTube anymore. You can get general admission for just $1 a month. If you like what we do here, consider sending me $1. It'll keep me in business. It makes me want to do more things for you guys. And there we have it. That's our first edition of the news right here at our new home of, what the hell are we on here now? StreamYard. Sorry. Yeah, I got to remember that StreamYard. I like these kids that are behind StreamYard. I like the idea of it. They're not censoring me in any stream or form. Seriously, if you guys are out there streaming and you're looking for a streaming platform that's really super easy, StreamYard took me about a minute and a half to set up, and it took me about 5 minutes to understand. And here we are doing our first live show tonight. So check it out, StreamYard.com. And I ain't getting paid for none of those promos. So just think of it that way. Look, I even got my little Reverend Jeff Kelly down here at the bottom again. I like that. They took that away from us like 2 years ago on YouTube. Now it's back. It's kind of cool. I can't change the color background because I'm not a paid subscriber yet, but we're getting there. We are definitely thinking about it. And speaking of thinking about it, this is really gonna suck because I forgot to open the Camping Tips for Stupid before the show, and it's gonna take a lot of resources to get that little sucker open. So we're gonna sit here and imagine that I did. I'm gonna babble at you for a minute or two and hope that it actually opens without crashing the entire system. But we're seeing here We are going to have a camping tips for stupid, and we are going to have our quasi theory of the week. We're so happy that our prayers to whoever was listening helped out with Dean's old lady. She's feeling better. She's home recovering. It's going to take a little bit of time, but she will be once again back to her putting up with Dean Cooper's self. So we are so glad to hear that the surgery was a success and that she's home and recuperating. And I don't know if we're actually going to get a camping tips for stupids this week. It doesn't seem to be opening. So we'll see what happens in the meantime. Right now, it's time for our quasi theory of the week from Mr. Dean Cooper. So let's give that a try. Hey, check that out. It did work. Let's hope this works in the meantime. And quasi theorist, quasi scientist, with your host, Dean Cooper.
Lighten up with levitation. Good old Elon Musk has been making news lately with his Hyperloop high-speed transportation idea. It's not like he actually invented.
Let's try that again. Sorry, folks. I think we'll be able to restart that without it being too distracting. Let's try that quasi theory from Quasi Scientist. And now, quasi theories from a quasi scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
Lighten up with levitation. Good old Elon Musk has been making news lately with Hyperloop high-speed transportation idea. It's not like he actually invented the idea, though. The idea of running a magnetic levitation train through a vacuum tunnel has been around for a long time. Magnetic transportation was talked about in the early 1800s, 1450 anyway. You also have sound, light, air, electrostatics, electromagnetism, both diamagnetically and electrodynamically. Or if you just want to levitate really little things, but that's all proper substitution. Anybody can get it. The other kind is special skills, occult skills. Walking on water, for example. Liquid water, not frozen.
Nah.
You're not sinking, so you...
We're going to stop that. Sorry, folks. That didn't work out anywhere near as well as anticipated, and I apologize for that. We'll do a little bit more testing and see how we can improve that for the future. One little fail, but we'll back to the quasi theories. That I can promise you. That was a rerun anyhow. So with that, let's give the old camping tips for stupids a whirl and see if that one will work for us. And if not, we'll get the shout outs in the hangout and try it all over again next week. All right, so let's try and get our camping tips for stupids to work out for us this week and see how things go from there. Yeah, that too is going to be fail. So we'll, well, again, I do apologize, folks. We will get back to it again another time. For some reason, I just haven't figured out how to work all the bugs out of this yet, but we will get there. I do promise you. Sorry about that. It does happen though. All right, so let's get out of here. Close down a couple of things and see if that doesn't free up some resources for it. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and give a shout out here to the hangout who's hanging out with us live tonight. I see there's a lot of people in here tonight. That's right. I'm still not sure whether it's Chodu or whether it's Josu Salazar. Hello there with you. Glad you are with us tonight. Maria, aka hello there. Glad you are with us. Tim McCune, he's in the house. There we are. Let's see who else is with us tonight. We're going to scroll on down here a little bit. I know I saw that there was Andy Baker. Hello there, Andy. Glad you're with us tonight as well. Shane Barber's checking in with us, as well as Dean Cooper, the quasi scientist. That's right. Sorry about that, guys. I will have to do a little bit of experimenting and see what I can do to make those better. Lance Windsor, how you doing, sir? Glad you are with us from the Great White North. It's going to be snowing up there for you. No. Aaron Duncan, hello there, and happy Wednesday to you as well. Frank G is in the house with us. Let's see here. The SoCal Forest Ninjas. There. Oh, that's neat too. See, I can actually even put the things up on the. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, audio echoing a little bit. That's just going to suck a little bit. Hello there, Marcia Patterson. Glad you are with us as well. Let's see who else is down here in the hangout down below. There's Easy Rider. That's right. Jonathan is in the house with us tonight, working on his analysis of that weird, creepy noise that we got when we were up in Bluff Creek just a couple of weeks ago. If you know what the hell that is, I would welcome an explanation. I really don't know what the hell that was. Okay, let's see here. Natalie Smith checking in with us. Hello there, Miss Natalie. Glad you are with us. I know there's more people than this. I'm just scrolling. There's the Life and Times of JCM. That's right. There he is, Jevin Moore. I know there's more people than this. I just haven't gotten to them yet. You haven't said hi to me. I don't know you're there. There's Obsidian Radio. Hello there, Obsidian Radio. Want to make sure we say hello to Brown Dwarf. Glad he is out with us as well. There is Gone Trappin'. Glad you are with us as well. Hello there. Let's see. We're getting there. The Squatch Bots. Mr. Christopher is probably listening with us as well. Hello there, Christopher. Eat your vegetables. Your Hobo Man 5. There he is. And that is the bottom of the box. If you guys are interested in gold mining, I'm actually going to be doing some gold prospecting here this summer and fall as we go along. And starting September 2nd, we're going to be in the Indian Valley for 4 days of gold mining and Sasquatching. So the Indian Valley is Lower Tahoe Basin, right on the Yuba River, the famous Gold Yuba River. So if you guys, anybody wants to come camping with us, let us know. We've got a spot for 6, and there's only 2 signed up so far. So if you want to meet us in Indian River next month, September 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and no, I'm sorry, we're coming home the Friday. So I'm thinking we're there the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. Is where we will be out there. I can give you the details on how to join us. No cost for the trip besides your arrival and survival. And that's the way we do things here on the Squatchers Lounge podcast. All right, people. So tonight, we are talking about the Skookum Cast. What the hell is the Skookum Cast? Well, we're going to tell you what the hell the Skookum Cast is. Whoop, I didn't put that. There's what we wanted. And let's see here. There we are. All right. Even Wikipedia has gone as far as getting on board with the Skookum Cast here. The cast was taken September 22nd, 2000 during a Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization's expedition to the Skookum Meadows area of the Gifford Pinchot National Forest in Washington State. During filming of the now canceled Animal X television show, there was also evidence of 17-inch human-like footprints found in the same area. The cast, which measures 3.5 feet by 5 feet and weighs approximately 400 pounds, is of a partial body imprint left in the roadside mud. The body dimensions, the cast reportedly 40 to 50% larger than that of a 6-foot-tall human. While the cast was being made, and during the cleaning process, hairs were collected for study, and they were sent to Dr. Henner Fahrenbach, a retired biomedical researcher from Beaverton, Oregon, who analyzed some of the hairs. Most were elk and bear hair, but he identified a single specimen as belonging to a Sasquatch. That's questionable. Several analyses agree that the cast shows the imprint of the forearm, hip, thigh, heel, ankle, and Achilles tendon of a large reclining hominid. Finer cast details include extensive impressions on the hair on the buttocks and thigh surfaces and what appears to be much longer fringes on the hair of the forearm region. Dermal ridges with characteristics consistently found on other alleged Bigfoot print samples were observed on the heel, but these could also be the result of the plaster settling as it dried or hair impressions from the wrist of an elk. A number of elk hoof prints and coyote paw prints were also present on the cast. Co-founder of the BFRO, Ron Schaffner, suggested that they observed on that there were several anatomical features made by a resting elk. Now, the team of analysts, Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, Dr. Grover Krantz, retired physical anthropologist from Washington State University, Dr. John Bandernagel, Canadian wildlife biologist, John Green, retired Canadian journalist and author, Dr. Ron Brown, exotic animal handler, all examined the cast and agreed that it could not be attributed to any commonly known Northwest animal and may represent an unknown primate. Meldrum, whose research includes comparative primate anatomy and the emergence of the human walking, said, while not definitively proving the existence of a species of North American ape, the cast constitutes significant and compelling new evidence that will hopefully stimulate further serious research and investigation into the presence of primates in the northern mountains and elsewhere. Later, Dr. Meldrum's 2006 book, Sasquatch Legend Meets Science, he discusses the analysis of the cast and described the findings of the group of scientists. The unanimous consensus was that they could very well be a bot. See, this is always ambiguous, friggin' wishy-washy, beating around the bush crap with these people. The unanimous consensus was that it could very well be a body imprint of a Sasquatch. Dr. Meldrum concludes by adding that the Skookum cast was examined by Dr. Darius Swinder, a retired professor of anatomy from the University of Washington, who has been skeptical of the possible existence of Bigfoot. The evidence from this huge chunk of plaster ultimately convinced him of the probable existence of a bipedal North American ape. Now, what exactly are we talking about? Well, we are talking about this monster here. They basically took and set out a apple in a mud puddle, in a raised piece of dirt inside of a mud puddle. And the idea was that a Sasquatch would not want to get its fur muddy, so it would bend down and lean in and pick these apples up off of this hill so that they would get some kind of a print other than a foot. They might get a hand track or get an arm print or something of that nature. And of course, after the 6 days, they went back to where they set out this bait. And of course, they have found what they were looking for. I'm looking specific for, there it is, the cast gallery. This particular image, I put it out in the show ad because I didn't want to use Meldrum's face as one of my show ads after the last change that we have. This picture highlights what they are assuming is the different parts of the Sasquatch that left itself down, left these impressions in the mud. Now, this being so early on, people are like, well, that's an exact print of what it is, but it's really not. It's an impression of how these body parts interacted with the ground, and we're left with whatever the impressions of that actually are. So who's to say what the conclusions early on came to be? But the other one that we were just looking at, this is the position that the Sasquatch would have had to have gotten down into to leave the cast as it does. And all of this is done so that it doesn't get its feet wet while it stands in the mud puddle, reaches down, picks up the apples, and carries them off. I've not always been a big supporter of this particular cast and position. This doesn't look like a natural position that a feeding animal would get into. You really have to contort this animal for it to get into this position, for it to leave the type of impression that they talked about in their in their investigation. So this is what the mud puddle actually looked like. Hard packed soil and fine gravel around an inner wet and firmer mud section. And what they did was they took and they put apples up and fruit baited inside of the softer mud so that the animal would have to walk into the center of it, which is what they were expecting, for this animal to have walked into it and leave really good impressions in the mud. At 2:30 in the a.m., vocalizations were heard in the distance of the South Base camp. Around 3 a.m., the two-man team dives towards where they heard the set and the sets of fruit piles at a few different spots with soft soil, including their rainwater puddle. And of course, you know, Biggie comes walking along and says, apples. I'm going to lay down in the mud in such a contorted way so that I don't get my feet wet. I'll go ahead and get my hands, my arms, and my chest wet, but I won't get my feet wet. So, other animals were found in there. Obviously, there were elk tracks. There were raccoon tracks. There were a couple of other things. And literally, it looks like an elk waller. I mean, that literally looks like what it would have been. What they were hoping for, of course, was that Bigfoot would have left the tracks behind and they would be able to cast them and there would be more definitive proof that Sasquatch was along. But he was attracted to the fruit sometime between 3 a.m. and 10 a.m. And this is what he did to get to it. Instead of walking into the water, the Sasquatch carefully lays down at the perimeter of the water and reaches out to grab some pieces of fruit. I just have a difficult time, believing. Tracks of several different animals are found the next morning. Among the others, some relatively distinct impressions in the firmer mud along the edge of the puddle the night before. The trackers soon realize what they're looking at. The Sasquatch had apparently walked up to the edge of the puddle, then sat down, leaned its forearm against the mud in order to stretch out and extend the other arm out over the water. I don't know. Do you get your forearm in your armpit and part of your chest wet to keep your feet from getting wet that are probably already wet if you're walking around in places that have mud like this? I really don't know. These are questions that I would have to ask when it comes to this thing. If you go on the BFR website, you can check out the 2000 Skookum expedition, and it literally has like a blow for blow what these people did through the entire weekend and how they captured all this. I remember the Animal X show that had the Skookum cast on it itself, and they really wanted it to be Sasquatch, and that becomes a lot of the skeptics' questions. It's like, well, you have all these anthropologists looking at it. Don't you think they would be able to actually identify specific things that would say that this can't be an elk? But no, they say things like, well, it could possibly may have been something other than something we know of, possibly. So here's John Green's take on the Skookum cast. John Green was a career newspaperman in Canada, deeply involved in the Sasquatch investigations since before the first cast of Bigfoot track was made in California in 1958. He's probably more familiar with the massive evidence accumulated over the years than any other individual. For more than 40 years, I've held the opinion that science cannot be convinced of the existence of Sasquatches by anything less than physical remains. I've now changed my opinion. I think the Skookum cast can do it, provided that enough influential zoologists, mammalogists, anatomists, primatologists, etc., will take a serious look at it. I've had the privilege of being able to spend considerable time examining the cast on 2 occasions, once before much of the dirt was removed from it, and once since, both times in the company of Dr. Grover Krantz and Dr. Jeff Meldrum, among others. On the first occasion, the dirt still had most of the dermatoglyphics. Well, I don't think I've ever seen that word before. The forearm imprint was still just a questionable dirt covering hump, and estimates of the length of the body parts were largely guesswork. Even then, the people present, 5 of whom held doctorates, agreed with the trio who had found the imprint that the only thing that could have made it was a huge bipedal primate which had sat down in the mud and then turned on its side. After that, Jeff Meldrum spent several days carefully uncovering the details, revealing consistent hair patterns on all parts of the imprint, including the forearm and large areas of clear dermal ridges where the heels had dug in. Since no large creature except primates have dermal ridges at all, there is no possibility that any other animal than a higher primate could have made the heel imprints. Each species of higher primate has a different pattern, and none has a heel this large. Further, Dr. Meldrum, who is a professor of anatomy, was able to determine the position of the joints for some of the limbs, establishing that the bones were 40 to 50% longer than those of a 6-foot human. The evidence that the imprint was made by a very large unknown higher primate is, in his opinion, compelling. I would not anticipate that every qualified person who examines it would come to the same conclusion, but I feel sure that the vast majority would have to, whatever their preconceptions. So, the question now becomes, here we are 19 years later, what work's really been done on it? Where is it? What's it doing? Is it sitting in some office just collecting dust now? It's over, so we're gonna be done using it. And this is a picture of what the cast looks like. It's a conglomeration of a whole bunch of other stuff, but somehow they see something that nobody else can. I just, I would like to see a little bit further work done on this. If there are heel impressions with dermal ridges in this cast, then they should be able to extract those using some kind of a polymer or some kind of a liquid gelatin, or they should be able to fill in those cavities with something and extract the information that was left behind. But yet we haven't seen any of that work get done on it. So I'm not really sure where we're going to go with that. But here we are. We are back. We are able to continue our live broadcasts here via YouTube, and I am so glad that you guys are out there. And we are looking at the end of the show already this week, my friends. I want to make sure that I say hello to anybody that showed up late here. Keith Harden showed up a little late to the show. Hello there. Want to get a big shout out to you as well. I do have a Bigfoot Campfire Story tonight. We'll see if it will allow me to do that. Let's see, maybe if I don't screen share anything while I play it, maybe then we'll be able to hear and see what happens from there. If it bails out on us, I'll definitely cancel it because I don't want bad audio just to have audio. So with that, everybody, thank you so much for being here tonight. We're going to continue on as usual, and we'll be back next week, Wednesday night, 8 p.m., right here via YouTube on the Squatch Lounge podcast. Thanks for being here, and may the Squatch be with you. What the hell is that? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that was a Bigfoot. Let me tell you a story. Well, this story was told to me by Pete the Caver. Now, Pete spent much of his free time spelunking. That's cave exploring for regular folk. He's up in the mountains of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. And it seemed one event, something unexpected, caught his attention. Let's get his story. Well, I've been camping out near the Harriman Cave system, just on the outskirts of Clintonstone. The system isn't very... Well, there you have it, folks. One big fail on certain audio tonight. We will try it again next week. I'm so sorry for that, but it is what it is. And with that, everybody, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week, and the Sasquatch be with you. Yeah, there'll be an after hangout somehow. We're going to see if this all works out one way or another. I'll send it in just a minute.